Have you ever wondered where the guts of an animal and you can get to in a moment of danger? This is a common sight, almost from day to day. All of a sudden, he turns it into something extraordinary. A woman, seemingly distracted, walking down the street when things change all of a sudden. A bully comes up with the intention that no one would want to see it, and she finds herself in a situation of imminent danger. At this time, the future takes care of the people around you, watching you in silence, unable to speak. But then something unexpected happens. A dog that looked just like a trusted partner. She realizes the gravity of the moment, and you react in a way that no one could have imagined. This story shows that sometimes the greatest courage in coming to those who least expected, the one who doesn't talk, but they have an instinct for self-protection, which is beyond any expectation. Have you ever gone through a situation in which you had to act fast? You don't know exactly how? This is the essence of what we're going to tell you right now. As a mere animal, and can become a real hero, faced with the danger to save a life? Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out now. You will be surprised. With the courage of a dog, his sensitivity, and his protective instinct are going to turn that narrative into something that will surely touch your heart. Over the course of the story, you'll understand that the love, loyalty, and bravery is not restricted, the same being the most unlikely. And then, additionally, you will reflect on the power of the dog to protect those they love, sometimes at the risk of his own life in order to ensure the safety and security of a person. Get ready to embark on a heartwarming story that shows the true meaning of heroism, loyalty, and the instinct of self-protection. Because at times, the biggest hero is on our side, quiet but full of courage and unconditional love. And this is a story about what is to come will show you just that. If you can identify with this idea that they have a role to play so special in our lives, I want to invite you to share it with you in the comments on your own personal experience or a story that you have lived with your dog, cat, or any other animal. Your participation is what makes this channel grow. And to reach more people with this kind of content, creating an online community where you can change the emotions and life lessons. If this story has touched your heart or made you to think about how they teach us about love and loyalty, don't miss to enjoy this video. Every like, it's an encouragement to continue bringing you inspiring stories like this that remind us of the power of love is real. In addition to this, if you want to keep up with more stories and reflections on the universe of the animal, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any news and be part of a community that appreciates the value of that bond like no other. Your presence here is the key so that we can get spreading the messages of hope, strength, courage, and unconditional love. So, we invite you to continue with us on this journey because the best is yet to come. The stories that show that many times the biggest hero is on our side, quiet but full of courage and unconditional love. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely at this point that we begin to understand that true transformation happens not only with the actions of the outside, but above all with the changes inside, with that quiet strength that is often overlooked. It is as if, behind every decision, every choice we make, you'd be a story that too often we don't see right away, in a story that shapes who we are and who we can become. And this is where it comes into a key point. The perception that we have of ourselves and the impact of this realization brings about in our journey of growth. A lot of us live stuck to the mind is limited, believing that external changes are enough to transform your life. But the truth is hidden, the one that only reveals itself in there behind the scenes to anyone who is actually willing to look into it, is that it all begins from the inside to the outside. When you start to understand that their decisions have on their thoughts and emotions are the true catalyst for change, it all starts to fit together in a way that's more clear-cut. It's as if, when you find out that the truth is hidden, you will gain a whole new perspective on the impact of their daily choices, about the power of rewriting your story, even though at times it may seem that everything is against you. And here comes in a sort of turning point, for the courage to confront the things that a lot of times we would prefer to conceal. A look behind the scenes of our mind and keep the secrets that, if revealed, could transform the way we see the world. It's not just a matter of willingness, but a real revolution in the way we understand our true potential. When you begin to realize that our own emotions, our own limiting beliefs, and even our own fears has a direct impact on the quality of our journey is over, of course. From this understanding, it is easier for us to make conscious choices that truly align with what you want to achieve. However, this transformation does not happen overnight. It takes a certain courage and a daily decision to look within, and to have to accept that, sometimes, the biggest obstacle is within us. And it is precisely at this point that the day-to-day becomes more and more engaging, because it tells us that real change lies in our ability to accept the truth, as hard as it may seem at first. When you are able to see beyond the surface, he begins to realize that behind the scenes of your own story is filled with opportunities, stories, even from one version of yourself that are hidden behind all of those obstacles that seem insurmountable. In this way, the revelations that arise in a natural way, almost as if the awakening silent, they will gain power as you go if you have to get to know you better. It is a process of auto-exploration. It says something that you might not have considered before, such as the strength of which lies in its vulnerability, and the courage which is born of the fear and the unconditional love that is often hidden under a layer of uncertainty. And when you understand it, you'll begin to understand the impact to your journey. It's not only about you, but also about the people around you, that you may be inspired by their courage to face one's own, behind the scenes of making their stories from the inside to the outside. And so, each and every step that we take in that way, it becomes a very important part in the creation of a new mentality, a mindset which appreciates the value of authenticity, which recognizes the power of small decisions, and above all, to believe in the possibility of real and lasting change. This is where the real magic happens, when you realize that you have to transform your mind, and you'll also transform the effect it has on the world around him, creating a chain of influence that begins inside you, but it reverberates through much of its history. This understanding leads to a new phase of self-discovery, where every time a new discovery is a step closer to a stronger, more aware, and more in tune with who we really are and can become. And while all of this happens, there is a sense that we are only just beginning to reveal behind the scenes of this journey. There is still much to be discovered, many of the revelations that await us in the next chapter of this story, that it's just ours. After all, it's the true transformation is an ongoing process, with a constant evolution that challenges us to look beyond the obvious, to seek the truth hidden behind our own personal limitations. And it is this movement of the findings that we find the strength to move forward, with courage, hope, and a quiet surety that the best is yet to come. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the journey of transformation is not only about the changes of the surface or of adjustment of the moment. It would require a more in-depth understanding of who we are, our motivations, the more hidden, and above all, of the decisions we make every day without a lot of the times to understand. Too often we get stuck in a routine of self-protection, where our choices are driven by fear, doubt, or even to a kind of self-deception, which prevents us from seeing the real potential that you have inside of you. And this is a trap. A lot of times, this takes us away from the true essence of that quiet strength that only comes into its own when you stop and listen to what is really happening on the inside. The truth is hidden. In fact, it is a very important part in the game. It is tucked away behind our layers of belief, the experiences of the past, and up to the expectations that you've created over time. When you can't look into those truths with brutal honesty, we realize that many of our limitations are, in fact, the constructions of the mind that we can debunk you with the same ease, with what we've built for them. And this is where it comes to the importance of developing a growth mindset. You understand that the limits are not fixed, but rather is shaped by a belief that we can reschedule. This is a crucial step for those who want to transform their own reality, because it changes the whole perspective of what is possible or impossible. At the bottom, this changing mindset has a direct impact on our daily decisions, making it look small, but they are made with a conscience, and it can set off a cascade of actions that will lead us to a whole new level. Every choice, every action, however small it may seem, serves as a catalyst for the transformation. And such a journey of self-awareness reveal that it is in the simplicity of our day-to-day it is the biggest force for change. When we learn to manage our thoughts and the value of our emotions, and to act with purpose, we begin to realize that we are more aligned to what you actually want. However, the search for truth and self-knowledge is not something that is linear and free from obstructions. In fact, it is full of revelations, which often challenge us to confront our own shadow. They are the moments of discomfort, of the questions in depth, where A is the area of the relief is lost, and the uncertainty becomes a constant companion. Yet, it is precisely in the fertile soil of the CD-ROM that first planted the seeds of a true transformation. It is this vulnerability that we discovered the power that lies in the authenticity and the courage to be who you truly are, without masks or masks of the social and the trap. To understand this process, we realize that there is a magical formula, a step-by-step adjustments. Each and every person in the soundtrack for your own journey, their own findings, and lessons learned. What it is, in fact, is the willingness to look within, to question one's own beliefs, and to accept that change begins with precisely the thing that a lot of times we avoid staring at you. And this is open to new things in preparation for the revelation that is to come, the ones that can change our whole view of the world, in our relationships, and even our relationship with ourselves. After all, it is the real transformation is to go on a journey of self-discovery, continuous, in which each step leads us to a version that is closer to the truth, the more strong and more in tune with our inner selves. And when you think about all of this, it is clear that the impact of this type of search is unparalleled. Because you are, in essence, it connects us with the universal truth, that we are in a constant state of evolution, capable of rewriting of our history, of every day. And in this transformation process, and each made a conscious decision, he's more kind and is an act of courage, brought us closer to that potential often remains hidden from sight, waiting for the right moment to emerge. It is as if the brave behind the scenes of your own mind, Descubrissimos, which is the key to real change, it was always at our fingertips, just waiting for us to have the courage to turn the key and open the door to a new life. Even so, the journey never ends in the fact that, because of the transformation of a cycle cycle and the eternal of the learning, growth, and self-discovery. And it's a cycle that, when properly understood, it becomes a never-ending source of motivation and hope, and to have an impact on everything around us. When we begin to understand that we are primarily responsible for creating our reality, and everything takes on a new meaning, every choice will have a greater weight. He becomes an opportunity to reprogram your mind to what you really desire to win. In the process, we realized that true freedom comes from within, not from a mindset that is aligned, and the courage to move on, even when your path seemed to be unclear or challenging. That is why it is so important to keep that connection with our inner selves, even in the face of adversity. Because deep down, it all comes down to our ability to remain faithful to the truth, to accept our own imperfections and to learn from them. This authenticity is what fuels our journey of transformation, making each step lighter in weight, much more real and more powerful. And, as we reflect on this history, we can see that the connection with our inner selves is the greatest gift we can give ourselves, because that is where we live. All of the answers, all the strength, and all of the light that we need in order to move forward. To understand this, it is a call for change, one that not only changes the outside world, but which, most of all, it transforms who we are, from the inside to the outside. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the journey of self-discovery often takes us to places that we can't imagine, revealing the hidden layers which stood there, in silence, waiting for the right moment to be found. And it is precisely because of this process, which is our real strength, shows courage to face what you are hiding, in order to confront our own shadow, and to accept that sometimes the biggest obstacle is ourselves. It is a revelation that changes everything, because when you understand that the limits of what we thought to have many of the times, they are mental constructs, we can begin to see the unlimited potential that exists in all of us. In this course, we realize that our daily choices, our decisions are more simple. They have a profound impact on our development. Every act, every thought or feeling has become a key part of the puzzle for our transformation, and it looks as if the universe conspires to make us get on. In fact, it only reflects that we have within our own doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs. When you have that clarity, it's all an opportunity for growth and how to reprogram our minds and create a new narrative, a story that truly reflects who you are, in fact, stripped of their masks and conditions imposed by the external world. As we delve into this thinking, we can begin to understand that authenticity is a key element in this process. Too many times, and have spent years trying to please other people and to shape our behavior to fit the expectations of the outside, not realizing that true freedom comes from accepting you exactly as you are. The latter, however, is not a passive act, but rather a decision to actively get to know, to recognize our strengths and also our own vulnerability, and no fear of showing who you really are. And this is where the transformation starts from the inside out, because when you break free from the shackles that bind you to a feeling of inadequacy, we opened up the space for new, interesting, and different light, the more you align with your purpose. On the basis of this understanding, it is clear that the impact of the journey of self-discovery, not limited to us. It reverberates in the lives of those around us, thus providing a positive influence in our relationships, in our professional decisions, and even the way in which we are faced with the challenges of everyday life. When you connect with that truth that is hidden, we realize that we are part of something larger, a network of experience and know-how that have been woven together to form a new perspective on life. This is a change of mentality. It does not occur at one time or another, but it is a solid construction, a move that would require the patience and persistence of, as real growth happens in the detail, the small actions we take in the course of time. And, in the process of this transformation, many of the revelations that have come to the fore bring to light the truths that maybe we're preventing. They are insights that can make us question everything we thought to be real, making way for a new understanding of the world and of ourselves. It's as if, when you open the door to the inside, you start to see it in a different way, more light, more honest. And in doing so, we realize that each step taken in the direction of the closer and closer to a more authentic and powerful way of who we really are. In this movement, the inner leads us to reflect on the importance of having a growth mindset and always being open to learn, to change, and to new possibilities. After all, it is the truth it hides many times do we avoid, is what we're all responsible for our own fate, and that it all begins within ourselves. When we align our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions, we create a synergy that drives our development of natural and sustainable way. It is as if each and every decision, however small it may seem to you, it was like a seed planted in fertile soil, which in the future will pay off in plenty of self-reliance, peace, and fulfillment. The beauty of this trek is that it is unique for each and every one of us, and that every experience, every offense, or to Victoria, is a part of a story that only we can write. To dive deeper into this universe is built. We have discovered that the true transformation is not a destination, but a path of continual discovery and reinvention. And then, when you open the door to self-discovery, we realize that the biggest revelation is that our greatest strength has always been within us, just waiting for the right time to be awake. So, we We go forward with an open heart and mind is open, ready to receive the next revelation that life has to offer. He comments that it makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because they understand that the real strength is inside of us. It's only the beginning of a journey that often seems to defy our limits more to be seen. It's as if, when you opened the door and we entered a realm of possibilities that were hidden behind the layers of insecurity, fear, or even have a routine that we hold to what is comfortable, but it didn't make us to grow. And then, to understand that power within, we can begin to understand that our choices, our actions, and even our emotions play a key role in this transformation process. Every thought that we cultivate, every choice we make is shaping this narrative of self-discovery and bringing us to a level of understanding of who we really are. However, it is not something that just happens one hour to the next. It's a journey. It is about having the courage to face your own shadows. You accept the vulnerabilities that we often hide, and, at the same time, to recognize the beauty of being human, flawed, and full of potential. This is where it comes to the importance of open-mindedness, a willingness to genuine, to learn from their mistakes, and a willingness to break down in order to rebuild in a way that is more authentic. In this process, a lot of times, we are not surprised by the revelations that seem to be minor, but that, in fact, have a transformative power overwhelming. As if the insight to be a part of the puzzle to fit together to reveal a clearer picture of who we are and what we're capable of winning. And it is only natural that along the way, sorghum of doubt, moments of doubt, or a feeling of stagnation. But these steps are crucial because they work as a catalyst for further reflection. It's as if the universe were inviting us to pause, take a deep breath, and understand that, with the growth of true patience and perseverance, many times, the greatest revelations that take place precisely in such periods of silence, when you can't disconnect the external noise and listen to that inner voice, which is often drowned out by the chaos of daily life. In those moments, it is clear that the transformation is not only about achieving goals outside, but, above all, a change in the mindset that impacts every area of our lives, whether it be in the form in which we relate to the decisions that we make or the way that we view the obstacles. With this in mind, we can understand that this is a journey of self-discovery, is a breakthrough in our own truth, the hidden, the one that a lot of times we hide it out of fear of judgment or because we think it is not good enough. But, on the other hand, it is at the core of most true, that which connects us to the things that really matter. And then, when we connect more deeply with it, we can begin to see the possibilities before they seem to be unattainable. It is as if each step taken in the direction of the interior to be like a seed planted for a lasting change. It's going to bloom at exactly the right time, and with the impact that the only one who knows its true power can provide. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this subject, because in this connection, the interior reveals a journey of self-discovery is also a day of its release. Break free from the bonds that hold us to the standards of old, limiting beliefs, and to a limited view of ourselves. It's as if, when you open the door to self-awareness, we're also opening up a window into the world of infinite possibilities that exist within each and every one of us. In this scenario, every decision is an opportunity to reaffirm our strength, our courage, and our willingness to continue to evolve. And in doing so, we find that the impact it can cause, it goes far beyond our own lives and positively influence everyone around you. After all, when we are in alignment with our core, everything around us becomes more slight, more real, more connected to our true nature. Let go of the doubts and insecurities. It's an important first step, but what is more crucial is to understand that change is continuous and is not a finish line in the final. Every day we learn something new about ourselves in a layer that is revealed, and he invites us to go deeper into it. And in the process, we learned that the force that we look out there is nothing more than an extension of the power that's already within you, just waiting for the right moment to bloom. This understanding gives us immense freedom to create a new narrative, one that is based on authenticity and courage, and the confidence that we can overcome any obstacle as long as we're in line with our deepest truth. And it is at this point in our journey of self-discovery becomes a real revolution in the homeland, is able to transform not only our lives but also the way in which we view the world. Each and every step on the way to an understanding of who we are, and the truth is that it is a discovery of our boundless possibilities, in a revelation that the higher power is always there, in the silence of your heart, just waiting for you to listen to it with attention and courage. After all, it is the transformation of a true, born from the inside to the outside, and by how much the more we awaken that inner strength, the lighter they are, our goals, our choices, and the impact we can make when you follow this path of authenticity and evolving. He comments that, it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation is not a one-off event, something that happens all of a sudden, and then it's gone. It is a continuous journey, a construction of day-to-day demands, courage, self-discovery, and, most importantly, made a conscious decision to change. And it is precisely at this point that a lot of people go wrong, because they believe that the change can take place only with the actions of the surface, or with a simple force of will. It is often not enough. It is important to understand understand that behind every decision we make, there are a number of standards, beliefs, and emotions that shape who we are and how we react to the world around us. When we first started to explore the internal layers, we realized that you will often carry loads of unseen that prevent us from moving forward in truth. These charges may be fears to old questions, deep-seated, or even just a story we tell ourselves is that in fact it is not in harmony with our nature. And this is where it comes to the importance of open-mindedness, a willingness to be true for the questioning of all of the things that you think that it is the truth. Because most of the time, the limitations of what we think is the fruit of a narrative that has been built up over the course of the year, a story that you can rewrite every time that we choose to do so. The truth is hidden, and often it is precisely on this point. It turns out that we are more than our mistakes of the past, that it is our choices that I do not need to define who we are tomorrow. And with this understanding, it can be liberating, because it invites us to look into in more detail, and with respect, and realize that change is a matter of decision-making, in alignment with our deeper purpose. When we were able to see that the connection between the way we think, feel, and act, you begin to build a new life, in a sort of domino effect, which once started, it becomes an irresistible force of economic growth. In this process, the transformation also happens to be the question of the impact, not just for ourselves, but to those that are around us, in the community, and in society. Every step we take is in the direction of to the best of our potential. It has a knock-on effect, and it is often something that is only seen in the practice in the application of day-to-day. It's like a tidal wave that will spread to change the atmosphere around them, inspiring others to also seek the best one for you. And, in it, we discover that the real power lies in the authenticity, and the courage to be who you really are, regardless of outside expectations or pressures of the world. For this reason, it is crucial to understand that the journey of transformation is not a linear path. It is not always easy. There are many ups and downs, moments of doubt, of fear, of uncertainty. But in those moments, in fact, are essential for growth, because they teach us about resilience, patience, and confidence in one's ability to evolve. Each and every small decision to stand firm, to seek the knowledge of self, or of a challenge to a belief in limited, this is a victory that is shaping the new version. And then, in the midst of all of this, we end up discovering that the greatest revelation in the simple, recognize that it all begins from the inside to the outside, where the real change is a choice, a daily to connect with our essence is genuine. And along the way, it should be clear that you are not alone. There are behind the scenes, invisible, the subtle of our supporters, and a lot of times we don't realize the hustle of day-to-day life. They are what drive us to continue to fuel our hope and a renewed faith in the possibility of being better every single day. This connection with the universe, the energy that is all around us, it is the one that gives meaning to our journey of transformation. And at the same time, we are reminded that it is the most profound impact happens when you take on the role of a protagonist of our own story with the guts and determination. He comments that, "I'm on this journey too. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because they understand that connection to the universe and to our very essence. That is, in fact, an exercise in self-discovery that challenges all of the layers of the surface of our daily lives. Too often, we allow ourselves to be carried away by the daily agitadissimo, the tasks that seem to never end, and we forget to look within, to listen to the things that truly touches our hearts. It's as if most of us were asleep, waiting for the right time for you to wake up and reveal with the strength that was always there, hidden beneath layers of fear, doubt, and limiting beliefs. When you start to realize that the power increased, then this invisible force that connects us to the universe, and everything becomes clearer and sharper. The decisions that we make are no longer merely the choices are random, and it will reflect a close higher, with a frequency that is aligned with who you really are. The key is to understand that power is not a force to be distant or out of reach, but it's something that we can go through little daily actions, and of an open-minded and have a provision to the earnest to seek the knowledge of self. This is not just a desire to change, but to create a built-in space where change can happen in a natural way, as if it were the result of the transformation of the interior. It is during this process that we discovered that many of our limitations, to come to a disconnect with that deeper part of ourselves. When you feel that you are lost, or have, in fact, we're just disconnected from this power source that lives inside each of us. What is it that makes it all the more surprising when you realize that this is not a font? If it runs out, it is endless. It is enough for the people to learn how to get it. The journey, however, is not straightforward. It is full of ups and downs, moments of doubt and revelation. These are the moments that teach us how to trust our own intuition and the value of the behind the scenes of our story. Because sometimes the real transformation happens at the details of what we do not know, in the small decisions that seem to be insignificant, but which, when added together, to create a paradigm shift in our lives. It is as if each was a piece of a big jigsaw puzzle, and the opportunity to align with the way we think, feel, and act what they really want. When we were able to make that bridge, and the impact is immediate, and all around us begin to reflect on this new vibration. When we get too deep into this, we found out that the truth is hidden behind our actions is often our mindset, the way we see the world and ourselves. And then, when you shift to this perspective, we are able to turn obstacles into opportunities. In the end, the real power lies in the courage to face your own shadows and use this experience as fuel for a constantly evolving. This is a journey of self-discovery, that it requires dedication, patience, and above all, a genuine desire to become the best version of yourself. And in doing so, we begin to realize that everything around us becomes, as we're all part of a larger movement to transform, and has an impact on the universe and of the ways that it is not always possible to imagine. In this connection, that deep understanding is what gives us the strength to carry on, even when things seem difficult or meaningless. Because deep down, we know that we are the authors of our own stories, that are capable of rewriting the chapters at any time. It's enough that they would be open to the signs that the universe has in store. And in the process, every step is taken with a conscience. It becomes an affirmation that we are on the right path, even though the track is still full of twists and turns and obstacles. The real magic happens when you realize that you are a part of something bigger than themselves, a riot of energy, which are woven together to create a whole new reality, a reality where hope and faith are renewed each and every day, the feeding of our souls and the strengthening of our journey. For this reason, it is essential to keep an open mind to all the possibilities, the impact of the decision to generate not only for our lives, but that of those around us. And, in so doing, we can begin to understand that the transformative power of it is, above all, in our willingness to believe and to act, and to connect with the truth that abides in all of us. In this connection, that leads us forward even when the path seems unclear, because we know that each step is an opportunity for growth, a chance to prove what they really are and can become. And so, the journey continues and becomes more intense, more true, more in tune with our inner selves more deeply. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is where it really starts to make sense when we understand that the transformation is not a straight line, but rather a maze of discoveries, questions, and a few moments of silence that don't seem to take the place of any of them. It is in this silence that too often we find the answers to the most important ones, the ones that are hidden under the layers of conditioning, fears, and expectations of external stakeholders. It is in the process of self-discovery that we understand the impact our decisions have on our reality, in our journey of evolution. For each choice, as small as it may seem, it carries a force that could change the entire trajectory, like a wave that starts at a point, and it spreads by flooding all around them. The truth is hidden. It often resides precisely in the simplicity, to realize that we are the creators of our own destiny. This gives you immense power, but it is also a responsibility that sometimes it is hard to accept. After all, when we realize that what happens to us is a direct result of our actions, and more importantly, to our deepest beliefs, we'll look at in a new light. We blame external factors, and we have begun to understand that real change starts from the inside out. This is where the concept of mindset, it becomes a gateway to a processing and long-lasting. An open-minded, flexible, able to accommodate up to new possibilities, he is like a fertile ground for the seeds of growth can flourish. But for that to happen, so genuine, you have to have the courage to face your own shadows, and those aspects that are many times we would prefer to conceal or deny it. This is the journey of the auto-confronto it is. In fact, it is one of the most liberating, as it allows us to break down limiting beliefs that have been implemented over a number of years, perhaps even generations to come. These beliefs often act as a filter that distorts our perception of reality, creating a sense of imprisonment. It is invisible. When we begin to question the stories we tell ourselves, we make room for the truth that is hidden, the one that reveals who we really are, in addition to the masks that we wear in order to please or to survive. And there was something fascinating in this process. Every revelation, every time a new discovery, and our confidence in our own capacity to transform the way that things are stronger. This confidence is like the fuel that powers the courage to move forward even in the face of uncertainty. And at the same time, we have learned that true strength is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in spite of it. When we connect with the essence of courage and authenticity, and it starts to take on new meaning, and the choices we make are no longer merely making time sensitive to become the steps, aware of the direction of our purpose and deeper. It is at this point that we begin to realize that a journey is not just about achieving a goal, an external, but to an experience of personal growth. Every challenge, every obstacle, it works like a mirror that reflects one's own limitations, but also our full potential hidden from view. And if we look carefully, we see that, in these difficult times, carry valuable lessons, the ones that really shape who we are and who we can become. That understanding transformed the way we look at life, making each and every experience as an opportunity to awaken to a new version of ourselves. However, this is a journey of transformation requires the delivery of a product is genuine, with a provision to leave the control and excessive trust in the process. This is how you learn to navigate the unfamiliar waters without a map or guarantees, but make sure that every step leads us to a deeper understanding of our inner selves. And in it, you start to realize that true freedom freedom is the ability to be authentic and to align our actions with our deepest truths, even if it means to break down long-held beliefs or to confront external reviews. Thus, the transformation is no longer something foreign, and it is a manifestation of our inner growth. Meanwhile, the search for authenticity that tells us the impact of our growth in the echo outside of us playing any other aspect of our lives, in our relationships, and our purpose in it. And when you think about these behind the scenes to internal, we can begin to understand what it is all part of a huge jigsaw puzzle, and every piece, every decision, every moment of self-knowledge that is essential for the construction of a reality that is more in tune with who you really are. It is a process that requires patience, courage, and a portion of the vulnerability, but at the same time, it's filled with insights that will transform the way we see the world and ourselves. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the journey of transformation is not restricted only to the surface understanding of our own emotions or a small external changes. It requires us going deep behind the scenes of our mind, and in those spaces, they often prefer to leave it hidden away, out of fear, insecurity, or just don't know how to deal with it, that we have found. These are the behind the scenes of the internal store of our true motives, of the patterns that we repeat it, without realizing it, and the limiting beliefs that often serve as the absolute truth, even when it does not make sense in our daily lives. And as you explore such scenes, we've noticed that a lot of our decision-making, our reactions, and even in our choices, the more meaningful they are, which is rooted in the universe, is invisible. You can only access with a certain amount of courage to face what is, at times, prefer to ignore it. When we begin to understand that our mind works in such a big stage, where different people work all the time, it's easy to see why they have certain attitudes that seem to be automated. It's almost as if we are stuck in a routine, the mind which is limited. But the good news is that, as soon as we're able to recognize these characters, and you can also learn how to be the director of this play, and changes the script, adjusting the lines, creating a story more in line with our true nature. And it is precisely at this point that comes to the importance of open-mindedness, a willingness, a genuine question everything they believe to be the truth, without fear of a challenge, even with the convictions, the most deep-rooted. Because you are, in essence, a lot of these limiting beliefs were created by past experience, external influences, or by the standards of the family that, over time, were transformed into a kind of prison, out of mind. The revelation is just the understanding that we may, at any time, to rewrite history, you change the route, and therefore, have an impact directly on the present and the future. When you look at these behind the scenes to internal, we can begin to see the impact of this change is to go beyond ourselves. It reverberates in our relationship with the world in the course of our daily decisions, the way we think about obstacles and opportunities. Each of the insights that we gain by unlocking these hidden spaces in your own mind gives you a whole new perspective and a new freedom to make life more purposeful. And in doing so, we become mere spectators of our own lives in order to become the protagonists of the assets in a story that we can put in each choice, each moment of reflection. And, in the process, are the revelations that many of the times we are scared because we are confronted with the truths that we prefer to keep hidden. Yet, it is precisely in these moments of discomfort that we find the most growth potential, because the real change comes from the confrontation with something that you don't want to admit it. And then, when you open the doors for those behind the scenes to internal, we have realized that all of this change requires an amount of patience, out of respect for one's own pace, understanding that there's no finish line in the final, but it is a continuous journey of self-discovery. All of this leads us to reflect about how we can create a routine of self-awareness, which is a deeper, more real, more connected to who you truly are, without masks or outside expectations. And in doing so, we discover that freedom comes from within, from the mind that chooses to look beyond the surface, beyond the limitations imposed by fear or doubt. This is the freedom it allows us to then make more informed decisions that are aligned with our essence, with a positive impact on each and every aspect of our lives, from our personal relationships to our dreams as the most challenging. As all of this unfolds, it becomes clear that the transformation is not a one-off event, but a building on a daily, regular practice of self-discovery, of wonder, and the courage to move forward even when the path seems uncertain or challenging. And this is a game of discovery that we find the true power to reinvent ourselves, make choices, and create a reality that truly reflects who we are. In fact, without the mask, without the mask, without the mask. So, when you explore these behind the scenes to internal, we see that each step is taken in that direction. It's like a seed planted in the fertile land of opportunities, where we can cultivate a mindset that is stronger, more authentic, and more aligned with our purpose. Because deep down, all through this journey of transformation, that is, after all, a revolution in the inner revolution that sets us free from old patterns, and it prepares us to live more fully, more of a presence, and more of a connection with all of the things that really matter. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. If you've read this far, I want to thank you for staying with me until the very end. This trade-off, this is the time for reflection, and this is the one that makes makes all the difference in our journey of self-discovery and growth. If this content made sense to you, just leave a comment saying, "I'm with you till the end," or some such message, which shows that this message has touched you in some way. This helps to create a stronger connection, and it encourages us to continue bringing you the topics that really make a difference in your life. If you thought this video was helpful, don't forget to leave a like. It is a way of recognizing the value of the content that I shared here with you and show that you care about with this kind of issue. And of course, all of this will help you to keep the active channel and to bring more and more of the things that they can't help you on that journey of transformation. And for you who want to continue to work with the pace of discovery and learning, there's a video right here on the side which complements this subject. You click on it and it comes to me because I'm pretty sure that's going to help you to drill down further for this in your search for the connection, for the authenticity, and a fuller life. Is this an invitation to follow me on this track for growth? We are together on this journey, and every step we take is an opportunity to get to know each other better and to evolve. Thank you for being a part of it. Until the next video.